This is like 2 days in a row. It looks like I've gone live on time. So let's go with that tonight. And tonight I felt like wearing my hair down because I just got cleaned up anyway. But I made as trivial as it sounds, I made a promise to Christ when I got better that I wouldn't get my haircut. And it's a little past a year now, and I mean I've still had the sides and whatnot trimmed up, but the top of it's really, I mean, it's like it's long. I mean, you know, it is what it is. I usually keep it up in a hat anyway, so it doesn't much bother me. And what was I going to get into tonight? The first thing I wanted to do is start out with the devotion. Usually, it's something that somebody else has come up with, and not necessarily me. But I wanted to cover the two things that have been weighing on my mind pretty heavy this week. And, I know a lot of people are struggling right now with anxiety and pressure, and, it's coming into fall, and there are such things as seasonal depressions. And, I'm not one of those who say, whatever's, never mind. But I take this verse because I deal with it a little bit, except with my mania type behaviors where I'm super, super hyper. I love the fall. I love the fall, September. And, other than shortly October 8th, it'll be 27 years since my mom died my age of breast cancer. So but it's more now since I've come back of a celebration, not a mourning, since I've learned how to speak to Christ. And it's I feel now that I can share more messages with my mom, and just kind of think about her in a more positive light than, thinking about the sarcophagus in the coffin out there in uh, Harrisburg Road in Kentucky. And, it's good. A lot more good memories have come up lately. But for the people that, are having trouble, struggling, I know Nurse Beth, for example, is having some issues. She does have a inherent kidney disease. I always talk about her. I don't know if y'all can see that or not. I'm not on that screen. Let me see. Yeah, there you go. All right, there's Nurse Beth. So she's making an appearance, and she's the best sight nurse in the world. That's how I halfway know I'm crazy, and I halfway know I'm not. But anyway, that's Nurse Beth. So, hi, Beth. All right. So, what I was thinking about here is I go into 1 Peter 5:7, and it's basically it's cast all your anxiety on Him because He cares for you. I mean, there's a lot of stuff we say, I can't handle this and I can't handle that, and I can tell you, just like everybody else, the trials and tribulations, they get to me. The constant doubt, the constant nonsense that you have to deal with, because I mean it's the doubt's strong. I mean the naysayers, it's strong. It's always going on. That he's full of it. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's not religious enough. The same thing I talked about last week. But you can take this and say, I'm sitting down feeling bad, and I just thought about this earlier because I got really ticked off last night about something I'll talk about later. But 1 Peter 5:7 is cast all your anxiety on Him because He cares for you. Amidst, I'm reading this directly, amidst a list of instructions to the church, Peter warns his readers to humble themselves, to be sober minded, and resist the devil. In the name of the list, he commands them to cast their anxiety on God. And I couldn't agree with that more, because one of the more important things in my salvation is, first and foremost, I didn't know it was coming. I wasn't asking for it. It was that prayer that ended up being 2.5 hours of asking for forgiveness. But I remember specifically the getting humble, the overwhelming feeling of, saying I'm not in charge of this whole show, like I, you know, delusionally thought I was for 26 years. So, I go into that, and when I got humble, it's just a starting process right there. And then, I'm still going, I don't deserve this, God. And then it was salvation. And then when faith comes organically, like, I don't care what anybody says to me, what anybody says I'm not religious enough, I curse too much. They don't like my process. They don't like my method. That's okay with me. I don't necessarily like their methods as well, but the type of person I am is I'll go straight to the head. I don't really mind if it's a pastor or a leader or someone in charge of a rehab in my world. And I flat out told people, because of their turning people into products instead of patients and children of God, that they do have blood on their hands. And there's a lot of people that in the last couple of years who are not with us anymore because of the stubbornness of the process. They won't change the process. And the process is, you go through there, you get a piece of paper, and they throw you out right back into the same streets you were from. And this is after months of telling you everything in the world's secular. You can't do this, you can't do that, you can't speak this, you can't speak that. And it's ridiculous, the way that people get put in a bubble for healing, because that doesn't heal you. And I know a friend of mine, a good friend since high school, has started a place in Lexington, Kentucky, that is phenomenal. I'm going to be doing some volunteer work for him, because as of now, I'll only do things as volunteer work, i.e., telling my story. Um, Getting some background, truly assisting others. If you haven't heard me before, I say it all the time, is I don't believe that we can help people. I do believe that we can assist people in a journey, and be positive influences. And my story enough, and part of my argument was getting a little butthurt over how much my testimony is either somebody's trying to discredit it, or say, this ain't possible. This dude just needs attention. I don't want the attention. I want you to look, whether you love me or you hate me, and you say, God's miracles are real. Jesus spent all this time with everybody. Everybody doubted everything. They continued to doubt everything, and they continue to do it now. What happened to me is not my miracle, and I say this constantly. I'm a bit brash. I'm a bit harsh. I especially don't like the hypocrisy of a lot that goes on in the church right now, especially the mega churches. I'm open about it, and a lot of people don't like that. They believe in the prosperity theology, which, if you don't know this, look it up yourself. It is based on occult beliefs, and is really, like to say now, is you can't put a price on a miracle. I can't thank God enough through words. I can't sit there and look at me, I'm special. The only reason I'm special is because I have the ability and the drive, I always have, just focused in the wrong direction, to be able to make a difference. And that is my job. That is the job that I promised God. And my job is not to lay down and be a coward. And I go through it with all this stuff about, what's gossip and what's not gossip. I can tell you right now, contributory negligence is a waste of time. It's more like you're a conspirator in a process of others getting hurt and or killed and or emotionally damaged for life. And that's the truth. Um, and I don't come up with all this on my own. I actually do a lot of theological study along with my psychology studies. And especially now, tonight, I'm going to cover a paper that I actually did. It's graded, it's a model paper, and this is, it's not that it makes a difference to you, it's a master's level paper. And I got a perfect score on it because I take my stuff that seriously. I want to learn. And for this not just to be a talk where everybody's, giving their BS side of events, either way, to legitimize, there's a lot of truth into this that gets frequently ignored and or passed over. And I know people that truly believe, they sit there and read the Bible and they sit down on a bench on Sunday and they're saved no matter what they do during the week. It doesn't matter. In my term for it, Sunday morning bench warmers. A lot of people don't like that, and I don't much mind. So where to start? Let's start on my paper. As you can see, it's a legit paper I got back, and this is all in my words, so I don't have to cite people except for the Pew Research studies, which of course I base my information and research off of, and it's tremendously helpful. So I don't know if anything, consider this a free lesson, I guess. What I'm looking at here and what I said in the description is what are the benefits and what are the don't like using toxic anymore. It's become a buzzword. So we're looking into what are benefits and what are the costs of, basically it's the cost of caring. And it's because there is an abuse when it comes to, I always use Facebook. It's the most familiar to me. And what I see the most is, and we'll get into this later, is again, I really need to cover the two buzzwords that really need to stop being thrown away. And that's narcissistic and toxic. They're just too easy. And you've got a bunch of people with no understanding and no background, no education in any kind of psychology. And, that deals with abnormal psychology. So the people that I notice that are constantly putting up something about somebody being a narcissist, I find that abnormal. And abnormal is how you place it. It's different from culture to culture. It used to be abnormal to be a black man, and we just went over this in class, and also with gender dysphoria and so on and so on. But there was a point in history where if you were black, you were only considered 3/4 of a person. How they defined that or how they added that up, I don't know. But I did a thing this week on gender dysphoria and watched a lecture from a gentleman out of UCLA who is transgender and black. And he brought up the actual war that he's fighting just for any kind of equality, and not equality like it gets spread in the news, but like just to be treated as a human. And it kind of boils down to, treat others the way you want to be treated. It doesn't matter what their orientation is. It doesn't matter what they believe in. We're in a world of pure turmoil when it comes to politics right now. And, you know, it's everybody's got an answer. Everybody's right on both sides. And now that the proverbial shit's hitting the fan, everybody's going, oh, you know, and this could all be solved with adult debates and not everybody being a. It's really truly a downfall of social media where people are speaking way above their pay grades and without knowledge, repeating sound bites from their favorite website or news source. And it's not necessarily accuracy, and that is, in fact, a tool of the devil. Uh, you know, yesterday marked in Lexington, Kentucky, it was the 100th shooting of the day. And on a rehab group I'm in, some dude had posted up how tragic it was, and this is just circumstantial, but how tragic it was. He had to tell his 16-year-old son today that he couldn't buy him a rifle. Anyway, according to the findings of the Pew Research study that I covered, there are several potential costs and benefits that result from frequent exposure to social media. So let's cover the benefits to get us on a good frame here. A benefit of social media, and this is directly my words, I cite myself. A benefit of social media I often see is a better sense of self. Things like being able to show a positive view of ourselves through the profiles we are able to create can increase self worth. True. We can factually market ourselves through our interests, lifestyles, and accomplishments and find like minded people that want to go to church, like minded people that don't drink, like minded people that are like, hey, what's your self care methods? And it's all over there. And okay, lifestyle and accomplishments. During times we are currently in, though, some people feel discouraged about certain events and can certainly find groups, blogs, and like minded new friends, as I said, for positive affirmations. It's good to be in a group where you do get affirmations for how you feel and what you're going on and or what you're going through and so on and so on. But there's also, you have to look at both sides of this coin each time. Is some people use that not just for positive affirmations, but to falsely reinvent themselves into some kind of spiritual counselor or spiritual guide, and you end up enabling people that, you know, like I saw this last night. There's a lot of people concerned about a certain person, and then they're seeking spiritual guidance from a another page that I'm not involved in, who has been giving them advice. And now these are all pretty new people to Bible, the history of the Bible. They read a verse, they interpret it the way they want to interpret it, and that's how it goes out there. So that gives the entitlement and enabling to this person who already doesn't want to say they're wrong for, you know, possibly going back out there, possibly having some issues, and that's when it becomes a really, really bad environment. So, as of last night, I talked to the one person that runs the page, and what I said specifically is, I said it's very irresponsible for you all to be giving spiritual guidance to somebody with a substance use disorder problem. And I meant what I said. I was a little bit harsher than that, but I really hate it when people who are not educated in the process and the module of what we should be doing is assisting people back to life, not saying we're helping save life one life at a time and all this other nonsense that comes out of the a lot of the rehabilitation centers. And I'll say this every time, I don't really care about the broken record on this, is nobody's helping anybody save their life. I got blindsided by a story today. I'm not going to go into it right now. Let's finish this. Another benefit is you can certainly find groups, blogs, and like-minded new friends. I mean, you can find positive influences if it's moderated correctly. But instead, you've got a lot out there, and I'm not saying every one of them are bad. I found some people that blow my mind away with what they know when it comes down to um, healing and their true stories. Like a lot of these stories get watered down. Like you can't talk about the past. Like I told a story last night on my uncensored one about the first time I went to rehab, and this is right after going to Miss USA's wedding because my roommate was marrying her, and what a mess that was. But you tell the truth, and I can go back and laugh about it and not glorify it at the same time, because those are moments that I should have been able to take in and be like, man, that was a really cool moment in my life. But I can't say that I drove home for 6 hours arguing with a ex about you know alcohol problems. But uh, go back and look at last night's. It's well worth watching because it shows the manipulation the way I was at that time. Because I actually got in the rehab and convinced them that I was a drug issue, not an alcohol issue, because I didn't want to be called an alcoholic because of the job I was working. And that's just the way it was. I learned how to manipulate then, and from then I could the big part of that I need to say is I went to rehab to appease that person, which was not the best move on my part. It's actually a terrible reason to go to rehab because I think when I got out, I bought a 12 pack or a case of Bud Light and went home and drank it, probably smoked 2 packs of Camels. And so, yeah, I got it all. I know it all now. I got to go to 2 AA meetings a week. Fantastic. All right. I mean, it did nothing to help me. It was just a vacation to, let my liver heal for a couple weeks, I guess. You know, sorry about that. Um, what we're going into friendships. Yes. According to the Pew Research article that I read, women share important life events. This especially shows when it comes to picture sharing. Twitter use, email, and the ease of immediate gratification via smartphones. This isn't a bad thing. Like I personally, and I've said this every year that I've been on from MySpace to Facebook, is I love the beginning of, middle to the end of August, where I got to see people put up their pictures of their kids going to their first day of classes and stuff like that. And I think that's something to be proud of. And, it's a good time for everybody to have positive affirmations right there. It doesn't necessarily have to be Christmas or, another holiday. And, so, I mean, that's a good thing. Now, let's go into some psychological costs that I found. It's some psychological costs to frequent use of social media users are absolutely increased stress, anger, anxiety, and general frustrations. Rhetoric rhetoric is often passed on as absolute truth, causing intense arguments, and it is so readily available that it's nearly impossible to miss. An example would be how our former president can blatantly lie, it be proven to be a lie, and yet he will call it fake news. It can go as far as to show him saying something take live to his speech and still claiming he did not say that. And folks, this isn't even political. This is the truth. That really does happen. And so you have, when it comes down to this, because of the group think of his fans, because they really are fans. It's like going back to nobody wants to believe that he's not really who he's portrayed. And like Santa Claus isn't real. So, which creates a group thing. So you've got all these people thinking alike, and polarization kicks in of his fans as they worship what he says is truth. They spread it, and at times it becomes a movement. You have an uncontrolled Wild West scenario out there with hate, bigotry, racism, intolerance, and false narratives are pushed heavily and absolutely create group polarization. For people like me who are big on research over word of mouth, it can be incredibly stressful and cause high anxiety. That's true, because when I see something that people are swearing about and literally wanting to kill each other over, like guys, gas prices, for example, is I'll sit there and I'll research. I may put 6 hours of research in that just to go, okay, what's the right and what's the wrong here. Um, so I mean that's just one. Those are some of the effects: the anger, the stress. It can really affect you mentally. I mean, I've read it causes things from um, why am I even tired tonight? It's because I've been working on psychology papers all day. Things like loss of sleep, lack of appetite. I already said sleepiness. You know, non-REM sleep. The list goes on. And there's a lot of health and physical effects that actually go into this as well. And I have to do a paper on that when I get done with this tonight. Um, Describe what the research findings tell us about the link between our awareness of other people's stressful life events on social media and increases in our own stress. Um, uh, Cite Pew. A number of recent studies have pointed out that emotions may be contagious through social networks. In my own experience, I would absolutely agree that it can be contagious. When I see people promote hate, for example, or the gun arguments, the fact that Barney was purple when some people might say he was green. Um, and when you read the comments of those that are hurt and the anger of those most affected, I mean, it personally stresses me out. My personal anxiety is greatly increased with ignorance being used as facts. Certain things like a pride parade um, recently really brought up some certain things, um, like uh, in places I've lived, brought out some very bigoted individuals out of hiding. The number one thing I read that bothered me was that they knew this would happen if they marched here. And these are the same people who preach and preach our right to gather, a peaceful assembly. But what are your intentions and what's the context you're going there for? To say, hey, it's not okay if that person's gay. Yeah, we're just gonna throw some hate out there and I hope it sticks. It makes no sense. And by the way, no kidding. Mountain Dew mystery flavor voodoo. I've been trying to figure it out for 2 days. Okay. And if somebody figures it out, I've got 12 pairs of glasses sitting there, and I've got 20 more in a box in there. And I will actually give away a frame. For somebody that doesn't Google it, you got to prove it to me. Um, Figure out the flavor, and I promise I will give away a pair of frames, and they're all either Ray-Ban or Prada or Dolce and Gabbana or something. I used to wear a shirt and tie every day, and no kidding, my glasses all match my socks, and that was marketing myself through. I'll have a marketing class one day, but I'll tell you, it worked. And so let's get back here. Um, okay, they knew what would happen if they marched there. As disgusting as that was to even say, others agreed and it generally affected. people, myself, and others as a hey group. I mentioned that the same people that want freedom of speech, the right to bear arms, and believe the South will rise again are the same people trying to block the freedom from others because of choice of orientation, which only by their definition is a choice. On another side of this, the angry bully like tactics became contagious. And on the other side, the stress and the anxiety became contagious. In more simple terms, extremism in recent times seems to spread like a wildfire and as contagious as a flu. All right. So that's getting us somewhere because we all know whether you're Democrat or Republican. Look, we all know I'm Democrat, so I'm gonna bring up some of the Trump stuff. No reason to hate me for it. You can, disagree. That's okay with me. Now let's describe how social media can promote levels of education and awareness that would enhance well-being for all of us, our children. I mean, to learn and to have a thirst and a hunger for knowledge. To me, and that's just me, is really such an amazing gift. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out how long I've been on. Okay. Um, and yeah, before I go into this one, let me run a my man Corey Thomas commercial, and I'm gonna switch the bottom as well. There is a young lady here who actually does the styling work on the Yorkie, and she's fabulous. I'm not kidding. When I was in Greensboro, North Carolina, they actually charge twice as much for sure. And so I'm gonna run her website, and as soon as I can find it, if I can find it, what did I do with it? Sorry, I get so bad at things at times. I really hope I didn't mess that up. I'll tell you what. I shall add it into the comments if it lets me. Why can I not comment? One day. Well, you know what? I had this set up and then I lost it. I have found it. All right. It's absolute paw perfection, and that is here in Central Kentucky. The young lady's faith based. She's fabulous. I'm not kidding. I mean, like when I was in Greensboro, I would have my Yorkies, and take them in there to get them, and they'd shave them. I mean, it was the same haircut, but this young lady actually does the nail styles, does the glands, and everything, and it's phenomenal how much more affordable it is than hell, even a PetSmart or something like that. So anyway, I'll let that ticker keep running for the rest of this, and let me get back to brand. All right, this is an ad for my man, one of my favorite people in the world, Corey Thomas. He's also a great mentor, a great influence to me. And if anybody takes anything from this man came from one of the poorest counties in North Carolina to go to and graduate from Duke University. He wasn't a one on and one off, even though he's in the Hall of Fame there for being, I believe, his speed as a running back was uncanny. And then to the NFL, and then got injured, unfortunately, and came out and became a minister, and still, paid his gratitude forward. And this book's about a story he learned from his mom in church as a young child. And seriously, I can't recommend it enough. It's up to you to check it out, but it is a game changer. It's a life changer. It's only 56 pages. It's a short story. So here's his commercial.
Author, evangelist Corey Thomas, a dedicated servant leader whose weapons are spiritual in nature and volatile in impact. Hot off the press, author, evangelist Corey Thomas's new book, Sound Advice, Music and the Battle for Your Mind, Body, and Soul. Matthew 5:13, ye are the salt of the earth, but if the salt has lost his flavor, wherewith shall it be salted? It's author, evangelist Corey Thomas's new book, Sound Advice, Music and the Battle for Your Mind, Body, and Soul. Purchase your copy to help maintain that flavor in your spiritual walk. This book is epic. It's sold on every major online bookstore, or go to CoreyThomasMinistries.com. I got my copy. Be sure to get yours. It's author, evangelist Corey Thomas's new book, Sound Advice, Music and the Battle for Your Mind, Body, and Soul. Get your copy today.
All right. Seriously, I really, really enjoy that book. It gives a different twist on, music in general and the effect of music and even notes, and, cover some stuff on, I come from a place in central Kentucky where everything's secular. I'm not going to go into that. I just get too heated. Now, where we left off, describe how social media can promote the levels of education and awareness that help to enhance well-being. My thought is social media can promote awareness through themes correlating with educational events, celebratory months, political awareness, and more. An example of the movement is overdose awareness this month. For September. With Facebook alone, you can change your profile picture to be framed with overdose awareness. Around it, they also have the same type of frames for Black Lives Matter, Pride, autism, cancer, HIV/AIDS, and more. These generally promote education as well on the subjects. I devote most of my time to substance use disorder. For example, and post up something factual every morning. Like example, did you know over 107,000 people died of overdoses in America alone in 2021? Mental health awareness is another big one where you can find links to pages and information, and common disorders. When I have my actual information up at the bottom, it does say just go to facebook.com /Goodloe, Goodloe .Napier. And you can go from there. I have a lot of links. I have another separate page on there of GN3 and Associates, which I just put up there in the top corner. And there's a lot of resources out there. There really is. And there's people even like me who will sit around and talk to you. I can remember what it was like to be quite judged. And so that's not my job to do. It's I look at things from the root cause and effect. At first I'm looking for the traumas. What was your life like? I know when I've gone in recent times, they're like, why do you use? I'll say this, that I think a stupid question deserves a stupid answer, and I'll leave it at that. All right. Now, if you were a social media influencer, describe how you would use social media to enhance compassion and empathy for all people who struggle with psychological disorders. I am considered a social media influencer. I've got a group page, YouTube, Spotify, called GN3 and Associates of Sober Minds. Stop that. Sober minds is not just substance sober, and that's really, really important for me for people to understand that. A sober mind is generally in your self awareness, your self regulation, your emotional intelligence skills. And anybody that really wants to learn something fruitful as can be in life is study emotional intelligence skills. It's a short thing. And see, where you are in them. Generally on Google, there's plenty of websites uh, that you can go into and take an emotional intelligence test. And it's just it's a fruitful thing to do because you learn from yourself and you learn how to improve on certain things, it's always a good thing. So, with what I do, I bring awareness, understanding, private groups meetings, and podcasts dealing with spirituality, neurodiversity, alcohol use disorder, substance use disorder, emotional intelligence in society, anti-racism, pride, historical research, political science education, and a digital diary of my experiences with study to become a behavioral psychologist with a concentration on substance abuse. I can't go into this one, but I implore people. This is a paragraph that was very important to me, and it's the Tulsa Race Massacre of 1921, which a lot of people don't have a real understanding of it. I know that I didn't until 45 years old, and the first time I learned about it. It's really one of the more disturbing genocidal happenings in American history. Be it in 1921, and this lady Viola Fletcher and her brother are still alive. And it was in May of 2021. They testified before Congress, and you can YouTube that, and it's something I think everybody should watch to just have a better understanding. It's really, I mean, it was important to me. It brought tears to my eyes to know that this was stricken from history books for so many years. Which was just, it's a really, really horrid thought. So after I get past that, because I can't do it. So, yes, we can influence and educate, but we must also be acutely aware of issues that come along with it. To put it plainly, I personally, and this is the truth, I've been accused of being a black sympathizer, gay sympathizer. I'm accused of being gay. Ignorant liberal devil, and much more. And this is just stuff I took from my private messages, which whatever. I don't know what any of that means. I kind of just, my friends and I just kind of identify with each other and we're friends. A lot of them get on my nerves, so I guess I really am not that good of a sympathizer. And okay. I think personally, I always get this from, and I was listening to it earlier. I think Bob Marley's "One Love" is one of the most important songs in history, and it's that one line, give thanks and praise to the Lord, and it'll be all right. One love. In the hope of hopes and in the prayers. I really do hope we get there to a place of love and not a place of intolerance and let's face it, bigotry and hate in every text or study that I've read is it's taught. I mean, it's really taught, and I always like to go back to what my mom said when I was little. This is the way my sister and I were taught. If you had a baby, if you had an Asian baby, a black baby, a white baby, Indian baby, whatever baby, all in a nursery in a hospital, newborns, would they hate each other? And it's not easy to think about because the truth is, no, they wouldn't hate each other. It has to be learned somewhere. And if it happened in my family, which it did, I had a cousin, Fitch, Rusty Soul, that my sister and I were not allowed around him as kids, not because of my mom, but because of my dad's family. Because, I mean, he was pretty, I can remember him well. Looked like dressed like Don Johnson in Miami Vice, and I don't know. He was always so nice to me. And I never understood what really happened. It ended up when I was told long after he died that he died of a brain cancer. But from what I understand, and just going back through things, it was because he kept it at, back then it wasn't even cool to go get tested, and he ended up with full blown AIDS. And, you know, same thing Freddie Mercury did, Rock Hudson, Easy, before it's too late. And that's one thing I really want to get into sometimes so that people understand. I have done a lot of work with HIV and AIDS, and it still amazes me this day how many people don't realize that's two very different afflictions. Um, HIV is controllable, and you can take your Magic Johnson and look like that. He's not getting some magic pill or any different treatment than anybody else. But there's a lot to it that really needs to be more understood, and hopefully we get there. It's it is what it is. Um, but um, now through what's happened to me with the death and all that, um, I've really changed in a lot of ways. I'm not reading this off. I'm just thinking. I'm more open minded to see the damage that's caused by the. And let's face it, there are religious bigots, and I can't say this enough. Some of the people I know that do the most positive actions in this world, and I'm dead serious. I mean, from my sister going over to Africa to go do free, life changing surgeries on these young fellows over there, and the danger that she puts herself in to do this is phenomenal. I've got other friends who volunteer, other friends who go on missions, and people who volunteer every day. I've got my partner Erica Burke, who ran a free clothing store for years. She deals with some health issues from her kidneys, but I mean, I'm been talking about she did all this on her own because God called her to do it. I'd love for her to do a show on here one night, which hopefully she will, or I'll get her to. And there's a lot out there, and it's kind of, if you can get outcast really easily right now from a Christian church, which when I was growing up, it was Catholics. Like if you were divorced, you were dishonorably discharged from being a Catholic. And now I'm telling you, the hypocrisy in the Christian church is something. As a Christian, I can't be the only one who says this, notices it. And you don't have to be scared of your pastor or a group of jackals. And honestly, there's a lot of lions in church who are circling you. And so my last question on this is, it doesn't make a difference if I was. Doesn't make a difference if I was a guy with black friends, gay friends, if I was gay, or if I am liberal. Facts don't have an opinion or orientation. I mean, that's the stone cold truth. To finish this out, and I'll see if I can get another show this week, because this is really important right now to the social well-being of all of us. is you can see I've done a lot of study work on narcissism, pathological narcissism, selfishness, strategies, uh, transactional relationships. And I've actually read a really good study from the Mayo Clinic about what is narcissistic personality disorder. And this is one a lot of people don't understand. I'll read it real quick and then we can go into that. That's your cliffhanger for next week. Um, Narcissistic personality, one of several types of personality disorders, is a mental condition in which people have an inflated sense of their own importance, a deep need for excessive attention and admiration, troubled relationships, and a lack of empathy for others. But behind this mask of extreme confidence lies a fragile self esteem that's vulnerable to the slightest criticism. With that said, it's a very rarely diagnosed condition because it's not the condition. People confuse selfishness in our time of social media. Um, People confuse selfishness with narcissism, and it's two totally different things. I mean, you're going through like if I sit here right now and tell you the difference between general anxiety and a phobia. We'll say for a concert goer, okay? Um, we've got two different people. One of them has a phobia of crowds, social phobia. The other one has generalized anxiety. It doesn't know that they might have or might not have social anxiety, but they get in a crowd and become uncomfortable by the unknown, become really like fearful of stuff that's not real, like closed in. Now, they didn't know that going into the concert, so that's where it kicked in the social anxiety. Now, with a phobia, it's completely different here. And follow me, is that person was already triggered before they went to the concert. So they may turn tail and run the second they walk in. The person with the anxiety, it may take them a few minutes before they realize that they're worked up and hurt. But I'll go through a lot more of these in the next couple of days. Like I said, I'll ask our CEO if I can grab another show because these are actually really important, and I'm more calm when I'm actually covering real world issues that I do believe can help us as in general as a society. And I'm not putting my reputation on the line because I don't really care about that. I'm backing up what I say with the research, with the credentials, to be able to do what I'm doing without, saying that's my opinion, that's, whatever. I'm still going to have opinions. But I'm going to be trying to use a lot more factual study methods, even though, with the DSM-5, stuff changes, but it evolves and it does get updated. So, I mean, things we thought a while ago, there were some soldiers who fought in World War II who were women pretending to be men, but they weren't really pretending as their gender identity to them or gender dysphoria, whatever you want to call it. When they came out of the war, they still dressed and lived as who they identified was. And long story short, even after all this, and after all the greatness they did for this country, the majority of them were locked in asylums for the rest of their life, forced to wear dresses and act feminine. Uh, you got to decide right there what kind of torture is that. It is a torture. But to finish us out tonight, I wanted to go to yeah. Um, 1 Peter 5. Well, let's just go. Let's do 6, 8, 9, and 10. Um, all right, so this is my devotion. It means a lot to me, and I say this in the Lord's name. When we start with 6 here, humble yourselves, therefore, under God's mighty hand, and he may lift you up in due time. Cast all your anxieties on him because he cares for you. Be alert and of sober mind. Your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. Resist him, standing firm in the faith, because you know that the family of believers throughout the world is undergoing the same kind of sufferings. And the God of all grace, who called you into this eternal glory in Christ, after you have suffered a little while, will himself restore you to make you strong, firm, and steadfast. To him be the power forever and ever. Amen. All right. When I say that, I know I was restored. I mean, I live in these shoes. I'm a different person, and that's all straight up glory to God. As I strongly state, because I don't like the stigma. Because I'll tell you the truth, I think there's a lot of truth in the stigma of Bible beating and hypocritical Christianity. And I'd like to make a change to that just through us, and the more that gather and say, you know what, Jesus is pretty cool. I know this one dude who, for some reason, don't know if he should have, but I mean, he restored me. And people really need to understand the one thing when they discount or deny this is I had no chance of living. I had no chance of being here. I'm here, and that's glory of God. I thank you all. Thank you to Lady Filana and the Endure crew, especially Corey Thomas. I miss that guy. I hope to do an actual show with him soon. And I'm going to try and pull on some special guests here coming up, because we are the outstretch is getting bigger and bigger, which is that's good as long as the word is fruitful. So with that said, everybody, good night. I've enjoyed being with you all tonight. So have a good night. Love you, and God's love.